Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. And I'm your host, Danny Flores. And today's honored guest is Eddie Herda, zooming in from Miami, a seasoned and intellectually honest creative executive advisor and director that helps businesses disrupt and grow in B2C and D2C and B2B environments. Recognized as an enterprise-level thought leader and champion of the customer, delivers growth and performance-focused creative strategies and executions that increase awareness, improve favorability, and build businesses. Known for developing in-house creative, strategy, and communications capabilities with a focus on growth and performance. Eddie, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yes, it sounds like me, what you just read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us what it is and how you got there.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I don't consider myself to be like successful, but I just
Well, if you're in Miami, I would.
oh yeah, it's Miami's weird. I actually lived in Miami for I want to say 4 months maybe in 2013.
Uh-huh.
When I worked for an advertising agency called Crispin Porter Bogusky. I don't know if you've heard of them. They no longer exist.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of back in the early 2000s. Crispin Porter Bogusky was like the it agency. They did Mini Cooper, MetLife, Burger King,
Okay.
a lot of big campaigns. And then I
Mhm.
went out to Miami to work for him for a few months as a consultant.
Mhm.
And so it's interesting to be back here 12 years later. It's still humid.
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
my journey started in the world of agency side advertising.
Mm-hmm. Agency site advertising?
Agency side
So what does that mean?
advertising.
So that anybody who's listening to us doesn't know what that means.
Okay, so we've all seen the show Mad Men, likely, right?
Mhm. Right.
And so there's the company, and there's the advertising agency, and typically, historically, the way this whole marketing thing would work is you have this internal marketing team, and then they hire the external ad agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Don Drapers of the world, and those are the people who've come up with some of the most memorable, mesmerizing ad campaigns in existence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a studier of advertising,
Mm-hmm.
old advertising, like from the '60s and '80s, and then the
Mm-hmm.
'90s. And that's kind of how that's what led me to, I guess now I'm a chief marketing officer, which would be client side.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say over the past decade, more companies are moving toward the building in-house creative kind of agencies, I
Mm-hmm.
suppose, or in-house departments.
Right.
The big agencies and that model, I think, is dying. It's kind of dead.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still those big corporations that exist, the Publicis and the BBDO and Ogilvy and Mather, which I think now is just known as Ogilvy. Crispin Porter Bogusky, which I mentioned, is now
Mm-hmm.
just known as Crispin. RGAs, so they still exist, but I don't understand how their models are surviving today.
Right. Because it's
Yeah.
so different, I imagine, with all the social media and people not really maybe not picking up magazines and newspapers like you used to, so you're not putting pictures on there, and it's just like totally different, right?
Yeah, I mean it's wildly different. I got into advertising prior to Facebook, YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
search. Like I mean, Google was still pretty basic back then, and
Right.
I mean, I remember when I was working on the Delta Airlines account, and back in the day, kind of like the show Mad Men, I was a copywriter and I had an art director partner. and but we would have to come up with ideas for the company, for the brand. And so we had this whole big digital campaign idea where we were uh, propositioning using user generated content, like on YouTube, creating YouTube videos, creating blog posts and whatnot. And we presented it to then the creative directors that were above us at the time. And they said, "What is this? I don't understand it." Like, you mean we're just gonna, write a bunch of content, and so we're gonna create these kind of low budget, commercials or on you posts on yeah, and we're like, yeah, this is what's gonna happen. This is the future, and we kind of got laughed at. We suggested doing a podcast back when the pods were when they were iPods, right? Hence the name podcast.
Yeah.
And we got laughed at. We're like, I don't understand who's going to listen to this. And now look at podcasts. You have one. Everybody has a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has a blog. Everybody's uploading content to YouTube, and that was over 20 years ago that we were suggesting that. And so
you guys were too early. That's what it was.
we were too early. I mean, one of the bigger campaigns that I did was so funny. Talking about early was for Cherry Coke, and it ran on MySpace as the medium. And if you think about like MySpace, who's talking about MySpace now, right? But that's how old and long I've been in advertising, I suppose, or digital advertising.
I don't think the younger generation might not even know what MySpace was.
No,
that was a very short-lived, I think, platform. Like many others, right? Many others were like that too.
Friendster was prior to MySpace. And MySpace, and I guess Facebook won that battle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, and then you have the platforms, the search engines that like the Googles, the ones that were before Google, right? What was it, like Yahoo and all the other ones before that didn't survive, and it just moves so fast right now. And I would imagine, like in you guys, for what you do, it's just like tremendous amount of speed there. And how do you even keep up with all of that?
It's wild. I think there was a period where I was keeping up pretty heavily in terms of everything. And that's when I was working agency side, because we were always working to innovate, come up with something new, and really not just wow the client, but find new ways to introduce products or brands or services to customers. And then when I went client side, that kind of my innovation, I wouldn't say it became it was depleted or became nascent, but it was I wasn't at the forefront of innovation when the goal is to drive performance.
Right.
Because I don't have the opportunity to go sit in a room with a bunch of weirdos and just kind of think about crazy things. Because like, hey, we need to get leads into the sales channel and feed a sales floor. Right. And so now, being back in the startup environment where we're building something that literally didn't exist before us, we're back to innovation and finding ways to introduce our service and our product and brand to customers.
So tell us a little bit more about the startup. Where are you at? What does the group look like, and what's the vision?
Our vision is to change the world, like all startups, right?
Yeah.
That's in the most simple way is I like to say we print money. It's like, oh my gosh, how amazing is that?
Right.
The founders, very, very bright, brilliant guys, found a way to give middle-class, everyday homeowners throughout the country the ability to leverage their low interest rates to generate long-term wealth after they've moved out of that home, right? So what we're doing is we're disrupting, in essence, what it means to buy, sell, and or own a home.
Mhm.
If you own a home, there's obviously equity that is accumulated over time, and then there's
Right.
appreciation, which means you accumulate more equity.
Mhm.
But when you sell the home, you no longer have the ability to profit off that home. It's gone. It's kind of like if I sold Tesla to buy Palantir, for example, right? You can no longer profit off Tesla. So what we do is we
Right.
we we work
Mhm.
primarily with low interest rates, which about I think 55% of the country has an interest rate below 4%. Um,
Right.
and we're telling these folks like, hey, don't sell your home. The moment you sell it, that interest rate's gone. It's never coming back, right?
Mhm.
Those historically low 2.5, 2.75 interest rates
Right.
are gone.
Right.
And so what we do is we cash individuals who are thinking about selling their home. We cash them out of their equity in full. So let's say your home's worth $500,000. You have $200,000 of equity.
Mhm.
Cash you out of that money. You now have the money you need to go place a down payment on the new home. Let's
Right.
say you have a new job, you have a new kid, you have to move. Um, and so now you move on with life as you were already planning to do.
Mhm.
But what we do is we manage your property. We convert your property from a primary residence into an investment property.
Okay.
And we manage all liabilities, financial liabilities, as well as other insurance related liabilities
Mhm.
associated with that property. So we're paying down the mortgage now.
Right.
You've moved on, but you're still on title. That's how we keep that low interest rate in place. We're paying down the mortgage over
Okay.
time.
Right.
You still remain on title. And as the homeowner, at a future date when the home's appreciated to your liking, we
Right.
share in that appreciation with the homeowner.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let me kind of paint it
Yeah.
the way I understand it to make sure I understood it and for audience
Yeah.
too. Okay, $500,000 home. Let's assume there's $300,000 debt on there at
Yep.
2%,
Yeah.
2.5%, right?
Yeah.
Owner owns the title and the debt, but they
Yep.
have 200,000 in equity that if they sell, they can tap. But like you mentioned, if you sell it, now there's no more appreciation. That goes away. Your 2.5% loan goes away, right? And they have their 200,000. But there's two ways to get that 200,000. Either you guys help them get it or they sell it. But the way you guys help them, you guys come in, give them the $200,000 equity, which is what they wanted to go buy that new home. They're relieved of 100% of the responsibilities on that home. Meaning,
Correct.
no more mortgage payment because you're going to handle the mortgage payment,
Yep.
and you're going to lease, I would imagine, right? That's what you're going to do. A rental home, you're going to turn it into an investment property and you're going to rent it.
Yep.
You collect the money, you control that money that comes in because you're going to use that to pay off the mortgage, to pay the insurance, to pay the repairs or whatever else.
Correct.
You just don't have to worry about that burden of having two mortgage payments. Because you didn't sell the home, it continues to appreciate. And
Yep.
that's where everybody gains there from not selling the home, right?
Exactly.
Let's just say
Yes.
5 years from now, the home's worth 650,000.
Yep.
So it's 150,000
Yep.
50.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a win-win for everybody. That's definitely a disruption in the home industry because you don't, as a homeowner, you have an ability to get what
Yep.
you want. You also stay with the ability to make some of that appreciation along the
Yep.
way. And you guys also get paid because everybody's got to get paid. You guys got to eat too. You guys split the profit, and everybody's a winner. That's a cool model.
It's cool. It's disruptive. It takes a little bit for some people to understand it. You being an investor yourself, you understand it very quickly. Is
Right.
a low interest rate equals low cost of capital, right? And that's what investors want. Is they want to be able to
Mhm.
borrow money for little money to make money at a higher rate. One example of one customer She's been in our program for 2 years now. She bonused our name of our company is called Bonus Homes. So we call it bonusing your home. She bonused her home approximately just over 2 years ago. And she had to move to another state for work.
Okay.
Her home now, 2 years later, has appreciated over $100,000. Right? She has not put another dime into that home. We've placed multiple tenants, like tenants have come, tenants have gone. We've replaced carpet, we've painted walls, we've made any repairs that have been needed. She, for having literally done nothing, has $35,000 sitting in a bank account, in essence, for her. That's just growing. And with our model, we have a minimum 5-year hold period, at which point you, the homeowner, can trigger a sale, or you could just let it ride, keep going, let it appreciate. If you have, let's say it could be a passive retirement savings for you.
Right.
And then 10, 15, 20 years later, when you're ready to retire, or maybe you have a new kid, 15, 20 years later, your kid's going to college, you can sell that home the traditional way, and you cash out or you liquidate your asset. It's pretty. So when I say we print money, it's literally, we kind of print money. All we're really doing is buying time to allow a home to appreciate to everyone's liking.
Now, what happens? Okay, what happens in the case? Now, I want to get into a really detailed question. Okay, let's just say, okay, 300 mortgage. You guys cash out 200. And then, but you have to spend a little bit of money, let's just say $5,000 to get it rent ready because you had to put some carpeting and stuff. Where does that money come from?
We typically cover the costs, yeah.
But do you get reimbursed from, so in other words, during the time that that the deal is in place, and you have, let's say when tenants move out, you have, maybe a couple dead months and you have to cover the mortgage and whatnot. You guys cover that. But does that come out, kind of build like a little, an account where when the house is sold and the profit gets split, but before the profit is split, you guys get reimbursed for that money? Or do you guys just put it in and that'll be part of the profit, but it'll be taken out as for the half of the profit that you guys get?
We never ask for any other investment or money from the homeowner. So it comes out of our pocket. If we can't rent the home, we're covering that cost. Right. We did have a home in Memphis. It sat on the market for 4 months. We're like, oh my gosh, we can't rent this home. Finally got rented, but we were the ones covering the cost. The homeowners was grateful because they needed to move into their new home. Right. So they're grateful that they went with bonus rather than trying to become landlords themselves. Otherwise, they would have been paying 2 mortgages for 4 months.
Right. No, that makes it even, understanding that. I mean, anybody who's a homeowner who's thinking about this, that makes them even a better winner because they're really insulated as far as any additional expenses. It's a true 50-50 split there.
Yeah. So what we do is we'll do an initial inspection on the home, right, to make sure it's rent ready. If there are things that need to be repaired, we'll discuss those prior to entering a contract with the homeowner to determine what needs to be covered by us or potentially how we'll share in costs prior to contract.
Right.
Let's say a new roof needs to be put in place, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a big one. So we would chat with the homeowners and say, look, you guys know you need a new roof. We know you need a new roof. Let's get to a solution where we can fix the roof where everyone is happy financially.
Right. Now, you as a CMO, what do you think is the best way to reach the masses? And I would imagine this is a national project, right? You can go in any state of the country, you can do this, correct?
Not yet. Now, there are, so we currently operate in approximately 25 cities. Now, the downside, we're going to expand over time, right? As you know, you start small and then you grow. You see what works. You look for market fit. You see what messaging resonates.
Right.
You ensure people really want what you offer.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, we have to be in an area where we know we can rent the home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a home that's in, let's say, rural Texas, that we know,
Right.
you know, let's say hour and a half outside of Dallas, who's going to rent
Right.
the home, right?
Yeah.
Now, 5 years from now, we might be there, but
Right.
today, as we're just getting off the ground, we really need to be as discerning as possible
Mm-hmm.
regarding the homes that we do want to get into. But
Right.
our goal
Right.
is to open up as much ability to generate new wealth for middle class Americans who
Mm-hmm.
are already struggling
Right.
to save anything, right?
Right. No, no,
Then now,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah. So they have to be cities that the model works.
correct, yeah,
Simple, pretty simple. But that makes sense because if it doesn't make sense for you guys, it's like it doesn't work. It has to be successful because for everybody, right? For
yes.
the homes. So yeah, and I would imagine there's certain cities where the homes don't go up in value. So maybe it's best for the homeowners that they need to unlock that equity is to basically sell it and pick that money up and put it maybe in a better spot.
Potentially, yeah. Or become landlords themselves. There was one individual in Ohio
Mm-hmm.
who we presented an offer to him, and he loved the idea so much that he said, "Hey guys, I never thought about renting my home out until I chatted with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to become a landlord myself. I'm going to rent out the home." And we said, "Great. We're glad we introduced you to the importance of holding on to your asset
Mm-hmm.
and taking advantage of that low interest rate, right?"
Right, right, right.
And servicers love us because if let's say Danny, let's say you have a home,
Mm-hmm.
and if you sell your home, well that that lender is no longer servicing your loan. You're going to go get a
Right,
new loan, right?
right, right,
You may get it with Rocket, you may get it with Loan Depot, you may get it with any number of companies, right?
right, 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 right.
So we're keeping a loan in place, and if for whatever reason they went with that same lender, well, now that lender is servicing two loans under the same name.
Right, right. They can continue. Now, do you guys
Yeah,
collateralize the equity that you pay out as on title of the home to securitize your portion that you're basically making an investment into the property, I think.
yeah. We're not securitizing our investments currently,
Hmm.
but good idea. Yeah,
FYI, right? You know what? If you're going to put out 200,000 in valuation of the home, you can put, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a loan, but you're
yeah.
collateralizing it so that you don't later on the owner says, well, you know what? I changed my mind. You got to be fair both, right, to your clients and to you guys. That changes my mind, and now I want to move back into the house or whatever the case may be, and tells you guys to go fly a kite. You're like, well, wait a minute, we've got this money in the home. I mean, we should be entitled to that. And
Oh yeah, so understood the question. We do place a second lien on the home, right,
okay, all right,
against that payout, right?
right, right,
Now they're never obligated to pay that money back
right,
at any point.
right,
What
right,
happens is eventually the home will be sold,
right,
and we'll recover our initial, payout that we
right,
through that sale.
right.
The homeowner's already been paid out,
Yes.
and it's at that initial kind of price that we set at as a home value.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's, we'll call it like the strike, right? The strike price.
Right, right.
Anything above that price is profit.
Yeah,
So if we set a price of, let's say, 350 for a home,
right.
Danny, you agree your home's worth 350. We agree your home's worth 350. That's your strike price. Your home's worth 500,000 now. It's 150,000 in appreciation, and then we split that.
Yeah, yeah. No, though
Yeah.
that definitely sounds like a unique model. So that's great so that hopefully it's super clear for anybody who's listening to us and this is like a new idea. I personally have never heard of it, but I mean it sounds pretty good. Pretty good because you're not selling the asset in the minute you sell your real estate, you're out of the game.
Yeah. You have a lot of real estate guys on your show. You're a real estate guy.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And most people would say, don't sell a home. Don't
right,
get rid of a
right,
low interest rate. And a lot of our customers, a couple in Phoenix, they wanted to maintain their property.
Mm-hmm.
Two issues. Biggest issue, which most Americans face, is they don't have the money they need for the new home.
Correct.
You have to sell one asset to buy another asset.
Mm-hmm.
So that's issue A. Issue B, if they did come up with that money, they didn't want to be on the hook for two mortgages, right? They're
Mm-mm.
just normal, everyday people. I
Right,
don't know what their
right.
incomes were, but they're not millionaires, right?
But that covers many Americans here.
Yeah,
That's the scenario.
most. Yeah. So we came in and we said, "Hey guys, let's bonus your home." I said, "Great." Now they have the new money for the build that they need. They paid off a little debt
Mm-hmm.
along the way, moved into their new home, and now we've had it under management for, I want to say, just over a year.
So now here's one question I just thought of.
Yeah.
And it's a really important question, I think. Is that a taxable event for
So
homeowners?
yes. So the initial real estate transaction
Yes.
is a taxable event. However, they can qualify for, I think it's called the 121 exemption in most cases, right? So they can
250
qualify
and
for,
250.
right? Yes, they can qualify for that. On the second transaction, that would be a taxable event for capital gains, in which they'd have to pay capital gains taxes. And which is funny because I was doing focus groups to understand market fit,
Right.
and people were really displeased with having to pay capital gains taxes on a later sale, right? And I go, you can't. That's not for us to like. If we, it's not
Right.
for us to decide. That's the
Yeah.
government that we need to lobby to remove those
Right.
capital gains taxes on that. But would you rather pay, let's say, 15% of, 50% in taxes off $50,000 or 0% off zero?
Right. Right. Exactly.
It's
Because
kind
you're
of
making,
like when people win the lottery, it's like, oh, you won $500 million, but after taxes, it's just like,
yeah, it's just 250,000. Like that's not
yeah,
fair. I mean,
I don't
250
want,
million.
yeah, yeah,
Right? No, that's not enough. You know what? Forget it. I'm not buying a lottery ticket because I got to pay a lot of taxes. That doesn't make sense.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny, we do consider these low interest rate holders to be holding a lottery ticket because they
Mhm.
were really lucky, they did the right thing, and they shouldn't be penalized simply because they have to move, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And just to explain what the IRS 121 rule is if it's in your home that you lived 2 of the last 5 years in your
yeah,
residence. Now, it doesn't have to be 2 consecutive years, but two
yeah,
of the last 5 years in between, you're entitled to a $250,000 protection from paying taxes per person. So, but if you're single, it's only 250,000. But if you're married, it's 250,000 each. So you
yeah,
can go up to 500,000 on that transaction to be a non-taxable event. So it
yes.
looks like you can get it on the first one, but on the second one you couldn't because you've already been out of the house for 5 years because it's a 5-year project.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's another thing, right? If somebody doesn't know that, right? So now that's even more enticing because you can potentially do a cash out non-taxable event because of the IRS rule 121, and you have the money to go buy your second house. You keep this asset, it continues to appreciate, and you continue to squeeze more profit out of it in 5 years from now.
yep.
That's
5,
like a
10,
perfect
15, 20.
model.
Yeah. Well, what? Yeah. It's like, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer
Um,
there.
it's we're people who our customers who've bonused their homes love it. They
Mhm.
love working with our team. They love the idea that they have this passive wealth generating machine
Mhm.
that they don't have to put another dollar into. And
Mhm.
let's say the market dips, which right now it's a buyer's market. Home prices
Right.
are recessing a little bit.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, who cares, right? You've already,
Right.
it's actually better for them because they cashed out their money when the home was a little higher for our
Right.
current customers, right? They got more equity today, or a year ago, than they could probably get today. And the market will dip, and then it'll rise, and it'll dip, and it'll rise, and then eventually it'll, if we just look at
it goes up.
the historical growth of home values in the country,
Right.
no one can say that homes today are worth less than they were 20 years ago. Right?
No, absolutely not. They all go up.
Yeah.
And that's driven by two driving factors: is one, supply and demand, and inflation.
Inflation. Yep.
Inflation, yes, we don't like inflation because when we go to the market and go to the stores, buy clothes and whatnot, prices go up. But if you're holding assets, inflation is actually your friend because it continues to appreciate. And, real estate assets primarily, I mean, other ones might appreciate too, but it's, the supply and demand and inflation are good things to have on your side.
Yeah. What are the downsides? Not downsides of the product itself, but just downsides in terms of how difficult marketing a new product like this could be. Is one, skeptics. Sounds too good to be true, right?
Right.
Sounds like a scam, right?
Yeah.
No, not scamming you. Some of our investors are the same people behind Uber and Instacart and Facebook and Airbnb, right?
Right.
They see the value in what we're building, so they've given us a nice amount of capital to go invest in properties, right?
Right.
So, but there's a lack of financial literacy throughout the country, which I'm sure you're aware of. You understand how investments work, but most people don't. Most people don't understand how equity works. People think, I want to sell my home for $500,000, and they're not thinking about the equity. And really, because that's what they're after. That's what they need. It's just they need a certain dollar amount,
right,
to get into a new home.
Right.
Most people just put a number on a home. Home's worth $500,000. Sell it for $500,000, right? But really, what we need to be looking at is how much equity can I pull from this home, not how much the home is worth.
And you know what? They're also saving on all the sale expenses, the commissions and the title and everything that you had to spend to sell the home. It's not you're just going to get straight 200,000. You're going to get less than that because you had to pay the commissions. So this is like would it be safe to say it's a non-commissioned transaction? So they're actually utilizing the full amount of what's there in equity?
Of course. We do have a small transaction fee, which obviously covers operation costs, right? But it's nowhere near the amount that you're paying agents and whatnot, right?
Right.
If an individual is working with already has a listing agreement with an agent, we will honor that commission, which is typically 3%, right? Of the home value, not the equity that's being cashed out.
Right.
But if an individual comes directly to us without an agent, that's an additional 3% that they're receiving. And as you mentioned, you're cutting out a buyer's agent as well at this point. So you're saving 6% in fees right there if you come directly to us.
There you go. Yes, I think I kind of thought of all the triggers that get pulled here for that we might not think about, right?
Yeah.
But it's a great product. So hopefully that you guys get some good traction here. Because it's a product
I hope so.
to unlock equity, like you said, for homeowners and help them, a little bit of education at the same time.
Yeah, it's wild. I've worked in the mortgage industry for probably a total of, I don't know, maybe a decade, or at least financial services. I had marketed annuities, which is a very difficult product to understand. Reverse mortgages. I don't know if you've ever seen the Tom Selleck stuff. American Advisors Group, which used to be here in Orange County. Or not here. I'm in Miami, but where we're from.
Right.
I was one of the individuals behind all the Tom Selleck stuff, right? That we've seen. I was part of the renaming team of Nation Star to Mr. Cooper, right? I'm the
Mhm.
person who typed out or wrote the name Mr. Cooper and presented, hey, let's call it Mr. Cooper.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Which I think was it Red who just bought did Rocket bought Mr. Cooper recently. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Um, and so yeah, I've been in the mortgage industry for quite a while. And the interesting thing about equity is there are only, there's you could get equity out by doing a HELOC, a cash out refi, or you can do an HEI, right?
Mhm.
All of those are for people who need money to stay in the home, right? We're
Right.
the first products like here's your cash out equity to get out of your home
Right.
and
Right.
move on with life, get into a bigger home, right? Go live
Right.
out your dreams, take the new
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
projected that this lock-in effect is costing $20 billion a year in GDP because people just aren't, they're tied to the golden handcuffs of that low interest rate. They're not
Right.
moving because they don't want to go take on a 6.5, 7, 8% interest rate. So now we're incentivizing people to okay,
Do
go
it.
take the job,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
buy
Yeah.
the new home, right? You're
See
gonna
that.
you're gonna you're gonna make it on the back end.
Right. Right. So the necessity created the product. You guys found the solution to a problem that exists,
Yes.
which could make your product super successful in being able to do that.
Yeah.
So, so good for you. Yeah, that's awesome for the American families. Something new out there that would help them be able to make the moves that they need to do. So,
Yeah.
as we wrap up our interview, what do the next 6 to 12 months look like for you?
We're going to do a lot of testing and marketing. We're going to
Hmm.
be going into a few different cities. We do already operate in certain cities, but we haven't necessarily marketed in those cities. So
Hmm.
let's say Phoenix, Nashville, Memphis, Indianapolis might be another one that we're very interested in. We're
Hmm.
going to do a lot of testing in our markets, and this could be, let's say, through direct mail. It could be through digital channels. It could literally be showing up at a home we're interested in, knocking on a door. Right?
Hmm.
There's no tactic that is off the table in terms of building awareness. Most
Hmm.
importantly, educating people about the importance of holding on to an asset that has low cost of capital attached to it. That is the most critical thing we want people to understand is I have a low interest rate,
Hmm.
hold on to this home no matter what.
Right. No, 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 and that definitely makes sense. That definitely makes sense. So Eddie, thanks so much for sharing all of this because this is great news for many people that can potentially use it. And if somebody's listening to us right now, what would be the best way of them getting a hold of you? Because we want to make sure that anybody who wants to try it or get more information, they can talk to you.
Just go to bonushomes.com. You could email hello@bonushomes.com and I'll receive the email and
Hmm.
respond. But yeah, just go to bonushomes.com, see what we're up to. If you're in one of the 25 cities we operate, fill out the form, and if your home qualifies, we will. Which not a lot of homes do. I mean, the homes that qualify are, they're diamonds. Right.
Right, right.
We do a lot. We're very we scrutinize those homes, right? We scrutinize the rental markets. We scrutinize the interest rates. And
Hmm.
if you're one of the lucky few that has the bonus homes, don't let that offer pass you by.
There you go. There you go. Well, Eddie, thank you so much for coming on to the show and sharing that. And to our audience, go to ocpowerplayers.com and follow us on your favorite channel. Thanks so much, Eddie.
Thank you for.
Hey, real quick, so I record the last part for my notes.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so basically, we take about 3 weeks to publish, and we'll create some shorts for you, and we'll send them over to you so that you can post them on social media. Make
Cool.
it easier for you. And
Yeah.
then the other thing is that we work with business owners such as yourself, C-suite executives in the alternative investment space, primarily in multifamily, where we're
Yeah.
able to bring in investors and get them about a double-digit return and great tax benefits. Is that
Yeah.
something that you'd be interested in listening to a presentation on that?
Yeah. I'm happy to. Yeah.
Okay, it'll be about half an hour. Let me pull up my calendar here and see if we can set something up. Okay, what does next week? I have Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of next week, the first, second, or third of July.
The 3rd of July would work. Let's say at 1 p.m. East. I'm on Eastern, I think, right now. My schedule is all out of whack because I'm East Coast and I'm like trying to
Right.
think
We
about.
gotta. So
Yeah,
1:30 would make it 11:30 our time.
that would make it 10:30.
10:30. Okay, I only have Pacific between 2:30 and 4 on Thursday.
Pacific between 2:30 and 4.
So that would make it 5:30 starting. So that would be late for you already.
2:30. No, well, I'm going to be back on the West Coast. I'm just trying. It's just like my calendar is. I'm trying to do like the mental math right now.
Okay, okay.
In my. Let me just bring up. I think one of my calendars is still synced to West Coast. Let me see. So West Coast the 3rd. At what time did you say?
Between
2:30?
2:30 and 4:30. I have 2:30, 3:30, and 4.
That's fine. 2:30 is fine.
Okay, let's do that. Then,
Cool.
all right. What I'll do is I'll send you a link. In that link, there's a link to a video
Cool.
that I talk about my background, so you can kind of, if you have time to listen to that, maybe when you're on the plane or something like that coming back, I can provide you some entertainment. It's about 20 minutes. Talks about my background and what I do, so you kind of get to know me a little bit before a call.
Cool. Thank you so much.
All right, perfect, Eddie. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I think this is a really cool product. Do you have it out here in California? Just curious.
Not yet. The rental to home value is pretty bad in
Yeah,
California. We'll probably try to get into Northern California at some
yeah,
point. Also, some of the regulations aren't favorable to landlords in
yeah.
California. A lot of strong squatter laws. So, I mean, we get a
It
squatter who
sucks
doesn't
out
pay
here, huh?
rent, and then we're on the hook for it. Like, what do we do, right?
No, you're screwed. I hear you. I hear you. We sold all our assets in California. I started
Yeah,
in California. California was good to me,
yeah,
but they're messing it up. It's
yeah.
you can't do much here.
I know it's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. I'll send you that link right now, and then we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bye,
All
Danny.
right. Thanks so much, Eddie.
Bye.
All right. Talk to you later, huh? Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.